Hello, everyone. Welcome to Time Added On. My name is Alfredo Fernandes.
And I'm Cristiano Oliveira.
We're here bringing you a brand new show. 5 topics, Benfica related, of course, 2 minutes apiece, and we're going to discuss them, and we're going to give you our opinion. So let's put the first topic on the board, and we're going to start the time clock. Bruno Lage's contract. Cristiano, Bruno Lage was offered a 4.5 deal contract by Benfica. It's perhaps the longest contract we've ever seen being offered to a coach.
To a head coach by this new presidency, by this new leadership at Benfica. Absolutely, and I think it's warranted. This is a guy who has familiarity with all the young kids coming up from the B team. Obviously, you see all the confidence he's instilled in every single player so far, from veterans to youngsters. I think this is the right hire. He plays the attractive style of soccer that Benfica is accustomed to playing. I think it was the absolute right choice by Luis Felipe Vieira and everyone else in charge at Benfica right now.
Yeah, but some people might think this is way too much, right? Because, first of all, as a coach with no previous big team exposure or experience, I should say, and it's a huge contract, but this also shows the confidence that Benfica has in this coach. As you mentioned, a guy that is familiar with Benfica's ranks, knows the players that are coming up, and this really is a signal by the club that they really trust this coach.
Look, at the end of the day, let's not be mistaken here. It's a 4.5-year deal worth $500,000 a year. I mean, when you compare that to Rui Vitória last year was making 1.5. At the end of the day, even if after 2-3 years you're not happy with his work, with his progress at the club, you can get rid of him and it doesn't really cost you much. I do believe he has a $20 million buyout clause in case any of the big sharks do enjoy his football and want to come and pry him away from Benfica. But again, I think it's a situation that they feel comfortable with this coach. This coach knows Benfica inside out. Most importantly, knows the young players. And I've been absolutely in love with him so far. And I think he, like I said earlier, he's the right hire. I'm very excited to see what these next 4 years brings.
Yeah, $20 million, definitely a hefty release clause. But as Cristiano says, to ward off the sharks.
All right, next topic. We're moving on to Florentino Diaz, obviously youngster for Benfica. What are your thoughts?
Look, my biggest thing about Florentino is the way he has come into the main team, and there's been no transition almost, right? So he's a kid that stepped on the field, played with the big boys, played on the international stage, and he's a guy that you could barely tell that there's a sense of nervousness about him.
Yeah, I mean, look, this guy stepped into the starting lineup, his very first start being in Istanbul, a very intimidating atmosphere, and he looked like a seasoned veteran. He did not shy away from the tackles, did not shy away from the pressure. He looks like he's been there for the last 10 years, and he's been, just absolutely better than ever anticipated. I don't think anyone anticipated the kid to get called up and be playing this caliber of football that he's playing right now, so much so that I even question coming into this weekend's game at the Ladrão if he's going to play over Samaris. I think he's just been phenomenal, and this is another one of the joyas that Benfica has from the Seixal, another one of the players that we've seen the investment that they made in these youngsters, and we're pleased to see the progress, and it's just been a fantastic early start here for his young career.
Yeah, as a 19-year-old, a staple in Portugal's youth ranks.
Absolutely.
But here's the thing, how big of an advantage is for him to have been familiar with Bruno Lage, played under Bruno Lage for half the season almost under the B? How much do you think has an edge? Because he knows exactly what Bruno Lage requires of his players.
That's half the battle, Alfredo. That's half the battle. I mean, obviously, when you're comfortable with the coach and you know exactly what a coach expects of you, it's a lot easier to come out and feel a lot more comfortable, especially when you're playing at a club like Sport Lisboa Benfica. I mean, you go into Estádio da Luz, 65,000 roaring fans. It's going to be nerve-wracking for any player. But when you have a coach who puts his arm around him, as we saw in his very first game, and tells him to just play his football and be comfortable, I mean, that could only help.
Yeah. Up next, we have Gabriel. So Gabriel, for me, along with Vlaco Dimos, are 2 serious buys by Benfica. Obviously, a few others buys by Benfica in the offseason, but Gabriel is really turning into the player that we all knew he was, because from seeing him at Getafe.
Yeah, this is a guy that has a brilliant left foot, a guy that knows how to play with the ball on his feet. He's not the prototypical defensive center mid, even though he could play there at times. Right now, he's playing more of a center mid role in the 4-4-2 here for Bruno Lage. And he does as well at defending as he does attacking, but make no mistake about it, ladies and gentlemen, attacking is where his bread and butter is at. And I think we've seen a pass this week to Sferovic's goal against Shops. He's phenomenal. He can put the ball everywhere he wants. Look, he's still Every game he still comes up with the one or two mistakes. He's going to obviously get over that. But the guy just lights out. He's got a sweet, sweet touch. And this is the player we all anticipated that Benfica was going to get when they pried him away from a La Liga side.
Yeah, that's exactly right. What you were saying about his both his defensive as well as his offensive traits, right? He's a guy that could switch a ball and put the ball on a dime. And when Benfica plays in the style that they play, with two guys very wide open in the wing backs, if you want to call it, or fullbacks, but they play more into the midfield, it's essential to have a guy that can switch the ball and that can open it up.
Yeah, I mean, look, Alfredo, I don't think we could say enough kind things about the player right now.
Yeah.
I know at the beginning of the season when he joined under Vitoria, it took him a little while to get into the starting lineup because Benfica did acquire him pretty late in August, if I'm not mistaken. And then it took him a little while to get into the starting lineup under Vitoria. And then when he did, it wasn't. I don't think he was playing his free role that he's accustomed to playing, with the ball at his feet, moving about, making long passes. And now we see that under Bruno Lage, and I think a lot of people are surprised, especially the non-believers from the beginning of the season. I think a lot of people are surprised now because the guy has been absolutely lights out lately. Moving on to the next topic, we're moving on to the Europa
League.
Absolutely, Europa League.
Here's the thing, right? So we've always been told that Benfica is at the caliber of the Europa League, or maybe not. But here's the thing, right? In all seriousness, now that Bruno Lage has taken over, and we've seen the style that he plays and what he brings to this team, considering also the opponent that we have next, Dinamo Zagreb, do you really think that under Bruno Lage we can make a deep run into this Europa League?
I'm not sure if Benfica will prioritize the Europa League, guys. I mean, let's be brutally honest. I think right now everyone is all in on trying to beat Porto on Saturday, on trying to reconquer the first place in the Liga NOS. And even though it's a nice coup to win the Europa League, which, look, me personally, I would love to finally break the Bela Gutmann curse and bring home a European title. But at the end of the day, the money is still in the Champions League, and that is at the end of the day, if you win the Europa League, you still do qualify for the Champions League as well. But I think right now, I think they look at the Liga NOS as a priority more so than they do the Europa League.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen under JJ's that the Liga NOS was always a priority, but once you get deeper and deeper into the Europa League, you're going to have to start having some ambition and some dreams and some goals, right? So if you're that deep, you might as well go for broke, right? So that's how we look at it, and I really think that Benfica has a chance to go deep. Of course, there's the draw that you have to take into consideration. There's still some big teams out there. Arsenal's out there. Chelsea's out there. Napoli's out there.
Inter Milan. Even though those teams are probably having a down year, but they're still Sharks, and they have excellent players, very threatening players.
A down year could be their season. Really, this competition could be their season.
Absolutely. So, a lot of teams in those cases, when you're talking about an Arsenal, you're talking about a Chelsea, for example, just to give you the two biggest names still left. And look, don't forget Sevilla, who have won a handful of Europa Leagues over the last 10 years. I mean, fantastic side when it comes to Europa League competition. But going back to the big two Sharks of the English Premier League, which is obviously the most promoted league. It's okay. I could go over it. I make the rules. It's my show. We're talking about those guys. They're going to look at this opportunity as the only way of getting into the Champions League next year because they're going to finish outside the top four. So I do still think they're going to take this competition very seriously. And Benfica is a young roster. And again, I think they'll prioritize the Liga NOS.
Yeah, absolutely. Next topic is Benfica's Dragao Complex, if you want to call it. So you always hear about us in our podcast, in our Benfica podcast, talking about how Benfica, every time they go to the Dragao, it's almost like they play with an inferiority complex. They head into the Dragao this weekend, obviously on a team that's on a much higher confidence level than Porto. Not that Porto is not confident, but definitely Benfica has been playing a lot better than Porto. So they head into the Dragao. But will the ghosts of the inferiority complex haunt them?
Look, I hope for those of you that are watching this program didn't listen to the Benfica podcast earlier because you obviously know my thoughts on this. I think Benfica is a very confident side. I think Benfica is hitting on all cylinders. Players are very confident under Bruno Lage, as we mentioned earlier. And I think they're going to go into the Dragão. They're definitely going to look to get away from there with the 3 points. And I'm very confident for the first time in a very long time. I'm very confident that Benfica could go there and pull away with the 3 points here.
Yeah, do you also think that the fact that Benfica played Porto hard in the Final Four and actually they played better for the League Cup, do you think that that also will serve as a mental edge, or do you think Porto will have that chip, meaning, oh, we beat these guys, we can beat them again?
I think Porto's going to have that chip regardless. I mean, you and I talk about how Porto goes into your house, smacks your wife, drinks your beer, drinks your milk, and walks out and leaves the door open. I mean, I don't think Porto has any regard for anyone. Porto's going to play their game. At the end of the day, Porto is in first place. Benfica has to go for the result because if they leave out of there, all things square in the draw, Porto's still in the lead. So to them, it'll suit them well. But it'll be up to Benfica. It'll be the responsibility to go and try to push the result and get a result, try to lose, which I think Benfica will do. It is just, a matter of if they're going to be able to take advantage of their opportunities because they're very, in these games and these huge matchups, there's very few in between. There's very few opportunities in between all the other nonsense that goes up in the game. We just hope that the referees don't get involved in this. But yeah, that inferiority is something that Benfica has lived with for a very long time. Since the stadium was inaugurated for the 2004 European Championships, Porto's had the better of Benfica at the Estádio de Dragão, so hopefully
absolutely. So that's all we got for you. I hope you enjoyed the show. We're going to try to make it a weekly thing. Again, 5 topics, real quick, easy to consume. Also, don't forget that this is a production of Benfica Independente. You should be checking out that website, which we're proud to be part of, benficaindependente.com, and follow us on all media. Cristiano, been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have some thoughts that you think, some ideas, some topics that you think we could discuss here on a podcast, feel free to email us. Well, we call this a podcast. It is what it is. 10CO10 on Twitter.
At Talking to the Dog with D being DA is where you can follow us.
Benfica Podcast, Benfica Independente. Hit us up with your thoughts, man. We're very eager to know what you guys think about this new adventure here of ours. And look forward to doing a few more of these, guys.
Take care, everyone.
Peace.